So now I'd like to introduce Oleh Hukovsky onto the screen. Oh, good. Hello, Oleh. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking the time to be part of this symposium and to speak to us about love, death, psychomobiles, and dogs. It resonates with so much of what's been said earlier. So I will introduce you and then we look forward to your presentation. So Oleh is a military psychiatrist and a psychotherapist. He's a captain of the Ukrainian Military Forces and he's currently serving Ukraine at Ground Zero on the front line of the war in Ukraine. So we are deeply honoured and touched that you're speaking to us today, Oleh. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for invitation. I will start with English, but then I move to Ukrainian because I prepare my thoughts and speech in Ukrainian. So it's nice to also, Patricia, to meet you. And it seems like all people I met with last name Hunt is a very interesting and good people. So, because there is a defense advisor in psychiatry in UK, Elizabeth Hunt, Colonel Elizabeth Hunt, and she is my friend.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good. So you have a good association to the name Hunt. Thank you.
Very much, very much. Так, я переключився вже на українську і
So I already switched into Ukrainian and I will start with my presentation. I would like to say that it was difficult for me to find the focus, to find what to prepare for this presentation, how to prepare this presentation. And in fact, I ended it just 1 hour ago. And also because in those cities where I am servicing right now, there is no electricity in the train. There was no internet, and it took me some time, and I was looking for some kind of a form for my thoughts about actually title and topics that I would like to mention in my presentation. I did not want to have some kind of formal report, you know. Usually abroad, when I speak abroad, I have some kind of statistics, I show various specific things, specific achievements that might happen in the sphere of mental health in armed forces of Ukraine. But actually, I did not really know what to talk about to you, if to talk about my work, some kind of my worries. I just get back not to my role as a military, I turn not to my role as a military doctor, but to my role, my basic identity as a person. And if my monologues are with too much pathos, I decided that part of my first part of my speech will be in part of internal dialogue, a dialogue between me, a military man, and me, civilian man, who kind of stayed, but part of me is always here in civilian environment or at home with my family or with you, dear colleagues. And my dialogue is, in a way, a therapeutic splitting or using this observing ego that knows all the truth. I try to understand this military part better. Before full-scale invasion, I was not a military guy. For more than 10 years, I was working with militaries, but I had never belonged, even though I had the title of officer of medical service. And in 2022, there was not a question for me whether to join the army or not, because I was already relevant to this half military structure. And I used this absence of my daughter and child because they were in Lithuania. By the way, I'm really grateful to Lithuania. Here I decided, while they were absent, to join the army. And then I just informed my family about that. That's it. It was much easier than to explain my motives and reasons for this for them. And civilian part, when they ask me, why are you in the army? This motivation should be clear. My motivation is that I'm trying to switch between the slides. My dear friend Martinez, am I a host already?
So, dear Oleh, you can change it now.
Please? Oleh, now you have this opportunity to change the slides. My task is to treat militaries, and if I do my work properly, then there will be less pressure for civilian specialists, and it is this principle of psychotherapy, psychology, when the help is provided as close to the line of connection as possible. And for me, it was very simple and clear motivation. My son once asked me, like, Daddy, why do you need to go? He is going to be 7 tomorrow. At that time, he was much younger, much smaller. At that time, he was 3 years old when actually the war, full-scale war started. And I had to explain him. I constantly had to find some kind of words that wouldn't be too complicated for his understanding, but at the same time so that they're authentic. And I explained that that actually the task of a man to protect family, to protect country, and I'm there to protect you. And it was very simple motivation, so that the war does not move to next generations, and so that it was always difficult for him to accept. But after several years, or 3.5 years of my service, it's already this adaptation has taken place. And it is easier for him to let me go, and it is easier for me to go, because when I returned to my division, my civilian friends asked me whether it was, my civilian part of me asked whether it was scary for me to go to unknown. And yes, it was scary for me, and partially I do understand those people who still are not in the army. But my shame is definitely much higher than my fear. And it's even if to take away all the patriotic topics, or like the topics of protection of my family, and my shame will not let me not to go to the army. And that's why cultivation of this healthy shame, this is something that can also help me to deal with the fear of doing difficult choices, because even in connection with our current corruption scandal, we see people who do not have shame, and they cannot be called part of Ukrainian tribe, of course. What supports me? Love and beauty. I notice a lot of things, but it's just naturally, because when I work in the armed forces of Ukraine, we call it work and travel sometimes, because I have seen so many places of my country that I would never probably go, and I have met lots of people. I was a witness and participant of many various situations that for me, I believe they encourage my personal development and my personal growth. What demoralizes me? Today there was the situation, I was in the train, I was coming from Kharkiv, and half of people, half of this train were children that are probably going to some classes, fighting classes, and I only heard Russian language. It demoralized me. I had to put on my headphones and to listen to Ukrainian music. But actually, for me, it ruins this my key message about the fact that we shouldn't leave this war for next generation, because I'm very afraid that the next generation will be intolerance, not in love to the enemy and to the language of the enemy that forms identity, but at least they will tolerate it. They will tolerate the enemy, and for me, then it's going to be the continuation of war. And I don't know any enemy that speaks Ukrainian, I mean at the front line. So yeah, we have Russian-speaking people, but we do not know any enemy who will talk Ukrainian. Of course, I was a witness of interviewing of some of the hostage, and they, yes, of course, spoke in Russian. They were not talking in Ukrainian. So some people do not have motivation that I have, but I believe that at least I shouldn't give up, however long this war lasts, because my motivation is strong and it is part of spiritual motivation. What I feel to the enemy, what do you feel to the enemy? Yes, ask my civilian side. I feel lots of disgust. And when I was at this interview with the hostage, I couldn't hear anything about the love to Donbas citizens that they promised to protect. So it was just, some kind of just unconscious group of people that we already know that some of our people from occupied territories already firstly moved to Siberia. What will you tell to Russian soldiers? Well, as a psychotherapist, I would probably wish them to understand and to be aware of their fault and their blame. In the UK, they asked me whether I know how Russian psychologists and psychotherapists work with their militaries. I answered that I have some methodological materials, but I don't know how they justify this war for their citizens. And maybe I will be a little bit cruel here, because I wish them this understanding and this awareness and for this shame to be in them. And I want this moral trauma to destroy them from the inside. I believe that one of the factors of ruining Russia as empire is actually with the help of their own veterans that will be suiciding, they will be killing officers, they will be putting on fire military officers, and they will be ruining Russia from the inside. So I believe that even in this case, awareness is a good thing. And I hope that they can save their souls with their awareness. The next part, that was about life. The next, so I'm jumping around. Every day we, civilians and military men, we count statistics, we count the number of destroyed enemies, or we usually not say about killing, we say about destruction or purification, as we call it. And the more we destroy, the less they will destroy us, the less our people will be killed to the front line. The math is very simple here. It's not about cruelty. It's about the fact that we need to destroy 10 times more enemy to be able to survive. But it also means that we are dying as well. And probably each of us, both civilians and militaries, have their own cemetery. And recently it was this day of honoring, how was it? The day of honoring All Saints, yes, or how they call it. And people went to cemeteries, in particular to the graves of our defenders. And I also have such cemetery. And recently, maybe for someone, for those for whom the war is from 2014, it is the biggest cemetery. During work in my previous division, the 2nd International Region, during our short mission at Pokrovsk, later at Vovchansk, Some people were lost in action. Most probably they were killed. These were 6 amazing guys, foreigners from Bulgaria, Romania, Italy, South Korea, New Zealand. I miss them a lot. And 1 year ago, my friend, the bear, it's his call sign, he's on the picture here with me. He was just 1 moment before moving in more adequate division. He almost was moved there, and all his group was fired from artillery. And at his funeral, his comrade switched on the poem that the bear recorded while he was in trenches during his duty, and he recorded this poem. No one knew that he was writing poems. He was very humble, and he was hiding lots of his talents. He had this poem, and on his own funeral there was this poem, because he took promise from his comrade promised him that until he's alive, this will never be published anywhere. So only after his death they just showed this video on his funeral, because he did not want anyone to know that he is doing that. So of course it's just statistics, but it is important to talk about individual stories, and I am happy that we have everyday ritual of honoring with the minute of silence, and in my current division, and it's we usually stop at 9 in the morning. And we feel sad a little bit, because it is impossible to have this sad and the sorrow for forever. We do it every day, and that's how we help ourselves as well. Automobiles, it is important part also for militaries, because we move a lot, and it is kind of the most stable life place for many military for many people. For me, it was called Psychomobile, but it was Land Rover. And after that, all my service cars that I use, well, actually, my car has just recently broken, but well, still, I call them all Psychomobiles. So this one I also called Grey Bison, and it helped me to go to all the divisions, and also to, of course, help my to had my belongings there. I helped my comrades when it was needed. It was very long visit when we moved from Drushkivka to Kharkiv region, then the Cherkasy region, then Sumy region, and so on and so forth. The car becomes a stable, safe place, especially if the platoon has to move a lot. My car was this safe place until I broke it. I got into accident, and then after that I got 3 months rehabilitation at home. I had to lie without movement. I had my spine broken, compression fracture, but without any kind of complication. The first thing I did after I got into accident, I checked whether my hands and legs worked. That was very important for me. That vacation, when I had to be without movement, gave me this additional understanding of my own priorities and also priorities of health. And since then, I pay much more attention to health of my body, of my spine. And when I am asked, how are you after this accident, I say much better than it was before. But unfortunately, the car, it was maintained, it was repaired, but brigade was offended that I broke it, and they took away this car from me. So now I'm raising money for a new car. I will be talking about this as well. The cars also have such symbolic meaning, as far as I know, because it is one well, probably the level with drones, but before large-scale usage of drones, cars was probably the most important object, because the whole network of volunteers raised money for this. And it is some kind of simple statistics that one military man is supported by around 10 or 11 civilians who help him, who provide everything for him. And such raising of money for cars, it has also been some kind of symbolic union of people around some kind of one goal, one aim. And it's probably I don't know, it unites much more than just buying it somewhere else. In the car salon, for example. Dogs. I have taken pictures of dogs since my childhood, and there will be probably no people here who do not like dogs. They are amazing creatures, and all the times when I visit to different platoons, divisions, I always meet dogs or other animals, mostly dogs, but cats, even rabbits. I saw even rabbits. For me, it was always the sign of good moral, psychological stage of platoon, because they have their own animal therapist. I even wanted to have some kind of exhibition, dogs of Donbass, because there are lots of them during ATO. There were terrible stories that dogs were eating human meat, and they were attacking militaries, and militaries had to shoot those dogs. I do not hear such stories now when we have this big war. Usually dogs are this subject, they're like their friends, where militaries also can express their feelings of gentleness with them and ground a little bit and rest a little bit. Now in my division, I am now in medical division of the fourth separate medical platoon of my comrade every day collects bones for dogs. Another one is feeding neighboring cats. I like in the morning to use Scandinavian sticks, and I walk around, and I got friends with, I befriended two dogs. One is called Black, another called Black and White. Of course, that's because of their colors. And several days ago, the girl, my comrade, also called Doberman puppy. She called him Dex, from dextroprofen, her favorite drug, so painkiller. So when I was reading this about dogs, I remembered one more resource that is critically important for me. I remembered the book of Sebastian Junger, Tribe, before I put lots of efforts for it to appear in Ukraine. There is this chapter, Men and Dogs. And there is also about Sarajevo, by the way, chapter, and it is military American journalist. He's an amazing specialist. If you haven't read this book, my sincere recommendation. And he actually was describing, well, the book is called Tribe. The Tribe, it's about communities, about leadership. And during probably my service, I was very lucky because I had the opportunity to join lots of various communities in Ukraine and abroad. In many communities, I was the first Ukrainian that I have ever seen. For example, in Australia, in the USA, I also went there, and I became a member of American Psychological Association of Division 19, and Bruce Kroll, the then president, I present him here the book about Ukraine, Ukrainer, and even during my, let's say, rehabilitation with spine, I felt lots of support, in particular from colleagues from Ukrainian Association of Psychologists. I'm really grateful for that. Andriy Sador and Koroman Kachur, they were always asking me whether I was okay, whether I needed something, and it was always very important for me. Just even to hear these words was important. I'm involved to various projects in translation and popularizing books on the topic of moral trauma, post-traumatic stress growth, And I am trying to also now unite communities abroad and in Ukraine in the sphere of military psychology and psychiatry. And it seems to me that we advanced a lot in civilian matter of this word in these disciplines, and we are moving very fast in military disciplines as well, but definitely they are much less integrated into the world of science than civilians. So I have what to do, and it is this big mission for me of my presence in military, and probably until I fulfill it, I will not leave this place. So when I was writing this text, I couldn't put myself together, and then I came home. I switched on David Bowie, Black Star, his last album that he issued 2 days before his death. And when I was listening to Black Star, I got focused, and I read the draft text of my today's speech. So I am also grateful to different muses and musical inspiration that also helps me to put myself together. And well, actually, that's it. The only thing that I would like to say is that militaries always ask for some needs with some kind of dignity. My division has needs, I have needs. And now Irena Holova will help me to buy new Psychomobile. And these are our PayPal accounts. If you want to send just several hryvnias, I will be really grateful. That's it. Thank you for attention. If you have any kind of questions, please ask them now, because probably I will not have the opportunity to join later.
Oh. Thank you so much, Oleh, for your presentation. I really liked this approach that you had of the dialogue within yourself and what you explored within yourself in all these different dimensions: love, death, psychomobiles, dogs. I'm glad that David Bowie gave you the inspiration to be able to bring your thoughts powerfully together. He's a powerful musician, and so I'm glad that that was part of how you gathered everything together. And you said about questions now, but I'm conscious of time, so I think sadly it's not possible to take questions now. It's quite important for us also to be able to listen to your colleague Anatoly, and that's in less than 15 minutes time. So I think that we won't take questions now, if that's okay. But I really thank you for your wisdom, for the experience that you have shared with us from within the conflict of the war, for your honesty. And I wish you safe, and I wish you well, and I wish glory for Ukraine. Thank you for your service to your country.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Madam.
Yes, thank you. Okay.